Good morning. Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for the opportunity to share some thoughts about being West Virginia State Treasurer the last 10 months. We've had a lot of fun traveling West Virginia, a lot of fun representing the state of West Virginia. It's been really the honor of my life. I think this morning we'd like to talk a little bit about some of the priorities that I think that the legislature and the governor should address in this upcoming session. And we'll have more in the future, but we'll just kind of hit with a few things today. We take in the Treasurer's Office, we take our responsibility as Chief Financial Officer for the state of West Virginia very, very seriously. We think we have a duty to advise the governor, to advise the legislature, and really all West Virginia taxpayers and citizens on conservative and sound policy for the state of West Virginia. And it's really crucial, as we can remember 6-7 years ago, the state of West Virginia had really severe financial problems. But with the leadership of Governor Justice, leadership of the legislature, we're able to turn the state around, and really good things are happening. Been able to keep our budgets in check. And after doing that, after a few years, we're able to pass a $1 billion tax cut, the largest tax cut in West Virginia state history. Great win for West Virginia taxpayers, and a great prove that fiscal policies, conservative policies really work for West Virginia. As we continue to see surpluses moving forward month after month, about the $350 million surplus we had last year, I think we're about $100 million. So this year, we can really tell that the state is in good shape. Really, I think the best financial shape of my lifetime, for sure. Our pension funds are basically fully funded. Our workers' comp rates continue to go down. We have billions of dollars in rainy day funds, and we have hundreds of millions of dollars in other funds all around the state of West Virginia. We are really in good financial footing, and it's time that we continue down the pathway to prosperity, and we continue to lower our taxes in West Virginia, and that we also continue investing in education. And there's no reason we can't do both. We believe that all the priorities that we'll lay out today will keep the size of the government in check, remove burdens and regulations, advance education, and reduce the taxpayer and our citizens. Following this roadmap, I guarantee you we continue the progress that we saw and began in the tenure of Governor Jim Justice. Excuse me. Our first priority, without a doubt, is to defend the Hope Scholarship Program. With the Hope Scholarship set to expand to universal eligibility for the 26-27 school year, we believe it is crucial that the legislature and the governor resist any temptation to roll back universal eligibility. The school choice movement started in the Mountain State, and since then, similar proposals have been passed in 20 different states. There's been a dynamic shift in our country where money is now falling to students and empowers the parents and children alike to find the right education that fits their needs. It's been a great win for West Virginia. Even President Donald Trump has made school choice a top issue for his administration. Now I know that many debate the cost benefit of the program, but the reality is that Hope is truly changing lives in the Mountain State. We will continue to fight for those who utilize the program and advocate for education as a whole moving forward. Here today, I'm vowing to work against any effort to limit access to the program. Our next priority is something we've talked about before, and it's something that President Trump did on a national level, and that's basically pass elimination of taxes on tips and overtime. This is a workers' tax cut. We do a lot of tax cuts in the state of West Virginia, have done a lot of state tax cuts in West Virginia for big business people, but these are for workers. These are for nurses. These are for waitresses. These are for the guys working on construction, guys and gals working on construction projects. We need to get this done. We need to follow the lead of President Donald J. Trump and pass that in West Virginia. We also need to make it effective January 1 of 2025 to match what the feds have done. This is a good thing to do. It's a small tax cut for the state of West Virginia's budget, but it's a big tax cut if you're the waiter or waitress or you're the construction worker. And let's get this done. I want to talk a little bit now about something I'm really very, very passionate about in addition
to the success of hope and education freedom, we have to address the quality of public education and public schools. And one way we can do that is with competitive teacher salaries. We want the best public schools, better outcomes, phenomenal teachers. We have to pay them a competitive salary. As we control government costs, as we see the benefits of the justice tax cuts and see our economy grow and diversify, we can provide excellent education opportunities for private to public schools, and increasing teacher salaries is the way. But I don't want to do just any pay raise for teachers. We propose that the minimum salary for any teacher has to be at least $50,000. And if any teacher is making $50,000 or more, that their income should receive a raise of at least $2,000 in addition. So $50,000 minimum salary, if you make more than $50,000, a $2,000 increase. We want these increases to go into effect at least by July 1 of 2026. This really is mimicking or following a program that Governor Huckabee Sanders did in Arkansas a few years ago. It's really worked well for them. They've showed the lead on how to do that, how to invest in public education and put that money back in the classroom, put it in the pockets of our teachers. We really need to get this done. We need to get it done quick. We all know that most of our students, we have 237,000, I think, students in K through 12. Most of our students in the state of West Virginia will go through public schools. We have to be pro public schools. We have to invest in teachers. We have to invest in classrooms. In addition to that, we need to do some things to give more local control to our county boards of education. We really do hamstring them with the amount of regulations that we put on them. And a couple I'd like to suggest, although I'm sure there's more, we'll talk about more later, is we need to loosen the timelines and requirements of reduction in force and transfer of personnel. We must give the district greater autonomy to make the movements that they have to make, because we are seeing less students come into public schools. So much of it is related to people are just having less children per family. This is not a state of West Virginia problem. It's a nationwide problem, if not a worldwide problem. But we have to give the public schools, they have to give the Board of Education the flexibility to make the adjustments they need to make in order to just adjust to the students that they have. Currently, we have this one-size-fits-all program that really restricts and again inhibits the ability for the County Board of Education to flex. I think if we could reduce some of these regulations, we'll see they'll make the right decisions and we'll get more money, more teachers in the classroom. So again, I think so much of what we need to do is we need to invest in Hope Scholarship. We need to keep it going. We need to pass no tax on tips. We need to pass no tax on overtime. And we need to give our teachers a raise. If we want to have good teachers, phenomenal teachers, if we want to be able to attract teachers, retain teachers, we have to pay them. Even though Governor Justice and the legislature gave, I think, 5 pay increases in a row for teachers, we're still below the national average. We're almost at the bottom, if we're not at the bottom. We're not competitive with our surrounding states. We really need to do this. The teachers deserve a raise. Let's get them a raise. So again, thank you so much for being here. We'll have additional proposals going forward between now and January. But I really appreciate you being here. I'll take any questions you have.
Yeah, kind of a question about this agenda. There's, you're a state treasurer. You're wrapping up your first year. A number of these things you talked about, Hope Scholarship, obviously that's within the purview of your office as state treasurer. Unclaimed property, consumer protection bill that you've talked or at least mentioned here, that's within your purview. Constitutional term limits, that's something that I think this office has been pushing for with Board of Public Works stuff. But in regards to the other things that you talked about, eliminating the state income tax on tips and overtime, local control schools that you just talked about, prioritizing teacher pay. Those aren't really things that are within the purview of the state treasurer's office. So how much of this agenda is really the state treasurer's office, or how much of it is really kind of things that you want to see done?
Well, I think it's basically it's an agenda for West Virginia. It's an agenda that West Virginia needs to adopt, needs to consider, needs to have discussions about. As a state chief financial officer, I feel like it's my responsibility to really speak on anything related to a dollar sign in the West Virginia government. That's the direction we take. I spent 40 years in the private sector. I've had 6 kids go through schools. I understand what schools need. I'm in the schools all the time. Also, in addition, I spent 2 years with Governor Justice. We're in and out of schools day after day, meeting with teachers and so forth. We've traveled the state over the last over the last 10 months. We've been in schools, we've talked to teachers, we've talked to educators, people at the state board, people at county boards. And basically what we're seeing, what I'm seeing is I don't see the discussion, I don't see the mandate, the urgency to pay teachers more money. We can do all the restructuring we want. We can revamp the school funding aid, which needs to be revamped. But if we don't pay our teachers a competitive wage, we're not gonna have anybody to teach our kids. They deserve a raise. But again, I haven't seen anybody talking about it. I waited a couple months on the no tax on tips and the no tax on overtime because I kept waiting for someone else to talk about it. I didn't hear anybody talking about it. So I thought, well, if no one else is gonna talk about it, I'll talk about it. You know, many of us have been a waiter before. Many of us have worked construction jobs or worked overtime. We know how high the taxes are when you work overtime. These folks are hurting. Inflation's really crushed West Virginians over the last few years. So again, we think it's our responsibility to talk about things that other people are not talking about and try to raise the profile of certain issues. These are issues we think are important.
Lori Cruzy with West Virginia Watch. You mentioned a lot of your priorities about education, and you touched on the school aid formula, but what we've heard from school officials is that is something that they would, something that is a concern. Can you talk more about what you'd like to see done with the school aid formula?
Well, I think that the school aid formula, as much as anything, is just archaic, right? It was dreamed up 40-some years ago, 50-some years ago by a judge who's now deceased, so I'm sure he thought it was a really, really good idea. But we all know what worked in 1970 and what worked in 1980 doesn't work today. Some of our school systems are struggling with teacher pay because they can look right across the border and someone's making $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 more. Some of our other school systems are struggling because the bus routes are so daggone long, right? And they don't have the money for that. Some of the other ones have schools that are only 30-40% occupied. So they got all the utility costs and so forth, and they have double the students. So we have just a lot of things going on out there that just it needs to be updated, needs to be modernized. What we've done over the last 40-some years is we've added on little things to try to adjust it, but we just haven't fixed it. So it needs a total modernization. I do think there's discussions going on in the legislature about those details. I know that the County Board of Education has some thoughts on how to do that. That's, when it gets down to those details, that's probably not my strong suit, but I do strongly believe that once we do that calculation and we write that county a check for $10 million or $100 million, it should be up to them how they spend it. We shouldn't bucket the money and say you got to spend it here, spend it there, because every county is different.
Given the landscape that Hope Scholarship will increase the universal enrollment next year, how can you ensure that we have enough money for the program? West
Virginia's economy is really on fire. It's just amazing how well we're doing. And again, it's really relates to a lot of different things, but it relates to some of the things we've done in this building over the last 10 years, but also relates to that God's blessed us with a lot of natural gas and a lot of coal. And so, so we're very thankful to folks like EQT and Diversified and all the different natural gas companies that have basically figured out how to get more natural gas out of the ground, how to get more coal out of the ground. We now have this energy demand that's coming up all around the country. It has nothing to do with what we've done in this building. It's just the demand for energy is really increasing. When that increases, it brings so much more money into the state's coffers. We also made a lot of good moves in the last few years to bring in companies like Nucor, bring on the Century Metals, to bring on TimeNet. These things are diversifying our economy. That's why we see these good numbers coming in every month after month. So we have the money to invest in education, and I don't think that there's really anything more important to invest our money in than education. A budget is just about priorities. As far as I'm concerned, we need to prioritize education.
Follow up on that question though. I know you talked about the elimination or temporary elimination, because if it's following the Trump plan, that would only go to 2028 unless you've got a different plan for that. I've seen anywhere for eliminating taxes on tips and overtime, anywhere of returning between 25 million to taxpayers on annually, or up to 75 million to taxpayers. That's money that's going to come out of the general revenue budget. She just talked about Hope Scholarship. Obviously, it's going to increase in price when everyone becomes eligible for it. You've got the school aid formula thing you talked about, and you're talking about raising teacher pay to $50,000. So sort of related to that question, I mean, is it a good idea to take money out of the general revenue through a temporary tax cut when we're wanting to also add the programs that we want to spend more money on?
Sure, but the tax cut is definitely the lower amount, so it's definitely somewhere in 20 or 25,000. We did a 10% across the board tax cut, it'd be $200 million. So this is a small number of people that receive tips. It's a small number of people that receive overtime. But again, the tax cut for them would be a big deal. But yes, I do believe we have the money to do all these things. We had a $350 million surplus last year. Our revenues are up this year. We'll be in good shape as long as we hold the other parts of the budget down and so forth. So we're in good shape to do that. But even if we have to go back and revisit some of the other things that we thought were priorities back in the days, there's no bigger priority than education of our children. 237,000 children in our state are dependent upon us to educate their children. We have to be able to provide good education, good salaries for our teachers.
Continuing on that Hope Scholarship, can you provide specifics on what it is that you're requesting from the legislature when it comes to the Hope Scholarship?
Don't change the law. Simply don't change the law. We're going to, the law that I was able to vote on when I was in the legislature about 4 years ago, basically said when we get to 26, 27 school year, it'll be universal that every child, every K through 12 child in West Virginia will be eligible to participate in Hope Scholarship. Now we know they won't. It's going to be a much smaller number, but universal eligibility is what we're advocating for. All the legislature has to do is
Any other questions?
thanks everyone. Have a wonderful day. Appreciate you. Enjoy the sunshine.
Thank you.